And this again is kind of ahead of its time, but it's like a Beavis and Butthead kind of thing where it's two metal guitar players talking about metal guitar and being incredibly stupid about everything having to do with music. And so it's just me and Nuno.
Just laughing, thinking about some of the lines.
Yeah, and I'm talking in a terrible Boston accent. And so it starts off with a phone call, and it's like, hello, hey, dude, who's this? Like, he doesn't know who it is.
Right.
And then he's like, dude, you want to come over and jam, dude? Yeah, dude. And then you hear the airplane crash into something and falling down the steps, and there's a cow and all that stuff. And then the song starts. So it's just all that stuff, the sound design, just to make it as stupid as possible. And then we start talking about all these different guitar players like Jeff Beck and Joe Satriani and Eddie Van Halen and Joe Perry. It's like, dude, I saw Joe Perry at Carnival, dude, and it's like, dude looks like a late. No, dude, don't say that, dude. So like, no, dude, don't say that, dude, was a thing that sort of ended each verse. We would say something, and then we get to the point where it was something that was, you shouldn't say that, and then you had to bring it back in. And that came from this guy that was Nuno's guitar tech at that time. He had this hilarious personality, and he wanted to. He was always super helpful, but he would offer up whatever he had, even to the point of being ridiculous. Like, he walked in one day and he was eating a cherry popsicle. He's like, dude, you want some? Like, no, dude. It's like, so it was stuff like that where we would just take these isms that were from all around, and that's just how the song became what it was. And the part at the end where we're playing the Pentecostal scale, both Nuno and I play this lick at the end, and we did it live. We both played this lick at the same time, and it's a big stretch. It's 3 frets apart, 3 notes per string, 3 frets apart, and we play this lick. It goes up, ascending, and then descending. But we played it just live as a single take, and really? It was one of these things where if you are a fan of Van Halen, you learn a certain kind of position, a stretch that he would do. And this is just a thing that was a total Van Halen pattern, but we put it in diminished harmony. So it sounds like the devil, but we played it live. That last part, when you hear it, if you listen back to it, that thing where we're playing in harmony, we just did that as a single overdub where we both played together. I remember Allan Holdsworth had come to the house around that time too, and he saw me practicing the little opening to that, and he's like, oh, that's cool that you're using more than one finger to do those things. And he showed me some stuff, which of course his hands, he could stretch way further than I could. And I was like, wow, I can't even make that
Can your hands even stretch that way now?
Yeah. So it was cool. And over the years, I would sometimes get a chance to stay in touch with him. And he eventually ended up playing live on stage with us during a few shows on the Zappa Plays Zappa tour. And one of the funniest things was that we played at the House of Blues in Anaheim, and it was on Valentine's Day. Now, date night for Zappa fans, very few women like to go to a Zappa style show, so this is like, it's mostly guys out there in the audience. But, on Valentine's Day, a couple of guys turned it into date night, and some of the women came along to the show to see if they could enjoy any of what was on offer. But one of the things that we did to make it more Valentine's Day friendly was there was that movie that was popular years earlier, which was Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey, the Dirty Dancing movie. And there was that song, I've Had the Time of My Life, which was the big, huge hit from that. So we learned that song. And then we had Allan Holdsworth play a guitar solo on it. So the juxtaposition of that song, which is so commercial and so known for being what it was, you know, a movie theme and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then you throw this completely ridiculous atonal guitar solo on it to essentially ruin the song, but in the best possible way. That was my contribution to Valentine's Day that evening, was to be able to get Allan Holdsworth to play a guitar solo, because he disregarded the harmony of that song and just did what he did, you know. And it was hilarious because I imagined, like, what if he played on the original? What if that song was that way, and it had this 3-minute Allan Holdsworth guitar solo in the middle of it, and it was still a hit? That would have been the funniest, weirdest thing to happen.
It is the best. I just, the setup for that, like the one night they finally go, they're gonna go there, then they probably get excited, they hear the song, and then they hear the solo, and they just totally don't get it. So it's like
Unchained was written on the piano. That's one of the most guitaristic, guitar pattern kind of guitar riff songs, yet it wasn't written on the guitar. So that was fascinating to me, that he wrote it on the piano and then ended up putting it on the guitar. So there's a few things like that over time, you know, you change your perspective of the feeling that you have for the song if you find out new information. I guess another thing that was funny about that episode to me was, as a kid, when I heard the solo, the outro solo to 1 Foot Out the Door, that the first note of the solo always sounded like Godzilla to me. So I finally was able to reference Godzilla and the solo and put them side by side, and found out that indeed it's the same exact opening note. And there's a certain kind of character to the way that the notes have this converging set of harmonics, and it's almost the same character as what happens with Godzilla's voice. So it's funny to me that it always sounded like Godzilla, but I didn't know how close it actually was, and it's the same pitch. The episode with Blues, where we were talking about this, there's some pretty funny stuff. We're talking about this one thing that happens in one of the songs, and I think it's Take Your Whiskey Home, but there's a little weird sound effect that just happens on the right side. And I can't remember how we were describing it in the episode. It was sort of like the equivalent of if you had a spinning bike wheel and you put something in the spokes and it made this weird little stutter sound. There's something that happens similar to that at one point, and I don't know why. And it just, you know, if you listen in headphones, it sticks out, and there's that one weird little sound, and I don't know what it is. I only discovered it when I was editing the episode, because I was listening to the song and I kept listening at one point because I was doing an edit, and I kept thinking, where's that coming from? Is there some weird little extra sound on another track? And I just soloed up the actual track from the Women and Children First record, and sure enough, it was in the audio from there. So it's something that would go by and you would never hear, but I ended up really focusing in on it and wondering why it was there and what it was, you know. So there was a little moment like that where we have similar things that happen from time to time in the episodes, but that is the first one that came to mind when you asked about